Jean Hackman was discovered alone in his grand mansion, living beside his wife's remains for an entire week. But the mystery goes deeper. Betsy Arakawa was officially declared departed on February 11th, yet on February 12th, someone heard her voice through a phone call. Could it be a system glitch or something far more shocking? And what about that 90-day clause in the will? Was it just a random legal detail or a cunning ploy? No one is stating facts outright, but if anyone wanted to manipulate Jean Hackman's legacy, they found an ideal start. A legendary actor's secluded twilight unfolded in the expansive calm of Santa Fe, where mountains shimmer with fiery hues at sunset. Among this panorama stood a sprawling residence, hidden deep within a private enclave. No signs marked its entrance, no neighbors came by, and above all, no one knew what truly happened beyond its walls. This was the fortress of Jean Hackman, Hollywood icon, and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, for many years. Though Hackman once dazzled silver screens worldwide, he chose a life of solitude, rejecting spotlights and Hollywood's glimmer. He abruptly disappeared from the film scene after his last role in 2004, steering clear of public events. Rare sightings came only through quick snapshots, him leaving a grocery store or pausing at a modest diner. Age took hold swiftly, his once dark hair turned snowy white and his gait grew noticeably slower. Their Santa Fe home, valued at $3.5 million, was grand yet strangely disquieting. Few people ever entered or left. They hired no maid, no nanny, and no regular staff of any kind. Even delivery folks rarely glimpsed the owners. Packages sat outside the gate. One neighbor famously told the New York Times, "They have a gate, and we have a gate, and we just have never even seen each other." Locals thus knew little. A wealthy, cryptic couple who became nearly invisible. Despite the estate's outward elegance, the inside was far from immaculate. A source revealed to Mail Online that when officers finally stepped inside, they were shocked by a scene entirely different from what one might expect. They didn't have a housekeeper or a maid, so it had beautiful things, furniture, and paintings, but there was dog waste on the floor. The house was in disarray, coated in dust, and the fridge was completely empty. Although Hackman had once been a towering figure in Hollywood, he seemed to practice a stark simplicity, some might say a disregard for his own home. By age 95, Hackman's health had deteriorated. Those who crossed paths with him described a frail man, shoulders bent, no longer wielding the powerful presence that once dazzled audiences. A few years back, a photo of him biking around Santa Fe created a stir online, hinting that he still tried to stay active. Yet the marks of time were etched on his face. Betsy's doctor even noted efforts to schedule a heart check for him, suggesting serious concerns. But the biggest question lingered. If Hackman's vitality had slipped so much, why did he and Betsy maintain an isolated life with no outside help, no private nurse, no caretaker? Did they mistrust everyone, or was there another layer to the story? If Hackman was legendary, Betsy Arakawa was truly an enigma. Formerly a classical pianist, she had her own career before stepping away from the public sphere to stand by Hackman's side. Very little is known about her because she never sought media attention. She married Hackman in 1991, following his split from Faye Maltz. Over 3 decades together, they had no children, and Betsy never shared details of her personal life. Many say she was the only person Hackman fully depended on, accompanying him as he withdrew from Hollywood into a quiet life in Santa Fe. Sadly, that unwavering devotion might have paved the way for the bewildering events that ensued. A wealthy couple with no staff, no friendly neighbors dropping in, and a home that guarded its secrets. Did they choose this isolation, or was it imposed on them from afar? Rumors surfaced, suggesting someone else might have been pulling the strings. One source noted that Hackman left behind no proof of interacting with anyone other than Betsy. His children, Christopher, Leslie, and Elizabeth, seemed largely absent, at least financially. Then, when Betsy departed first, Hackman ended up alone for a week. Nobody knew how he managed or what truly took place during those lonely days. He wanted to be quiet, he didn't want to be bothered. A neighbor remarked, this captured Hackman's craving for solitude in his final days. But was it a personal choice? Or was he coerced into keeping silent? Santa Fe, once his peaceful haven, abruptly became the stage for unsettling riddles about how he left this world. Every twist, like Betsy's call after she was supposedly gone, only deepened the shadows. Was it merely a calm life for a couple who aged in privacy, or a hidden scheme unfolding? And most urgently, who stood to profit from it all? On February 11th, Santa Fe police documented Betsy Arakawa's passing. She had been by Jean Hackman's side for more than 30 years. Yet only a day later, a call from Betsy shook the clarity of that timeline. Where did this call come from? And was she truly gone on the 11th as reported? Dr. Josiah Child of Cloudberry Health was at a loss for words. On the morning of February 12th, a call from Betsy was logged into the clinic's system. Mrs. Hackman didn't die on February 11th because she called my clinic on February 12th, he said. This was no trivial slip, no mere clerical mistake. The doctor insisted Betsy had phoned, confirmed an appointment, and even spoken with another physician on staff. She called back on the morning of February 12th and spoke to one of our doctors who told her to come in that afternoon. If the police report was correct and Betsy was gone by the 11th, then who spoke on the phone the next day? One theory suggests an error in the clinic's records or Dr. Child's memory, yet Betsy was never prone to such mistakes, so that seems unlikely. Another possibility is an impersonator with a hidden agenda. A third option is that Betsy was alive on February 12th, meaning the official record was either grossly incorrect or deliberately falsified. There was one striking detail: Betsy's calm tone during the call. She showed no panic, only confirmed her appointment, but never arrived that afternoon. If she was alive, why didn't she come? If something happened on February 11th, how could her voice echo out on the 12th? Perhaps the truth was twisted for reasons we can only guess. Impersonating Betsy would require deep familiarity with her speech and habits. She was famously private, so only someone close could pull it off. Was Betsy already gone, or was the stated date part of a cover-up? Some even speculated that someone withheld news of her death to serve a bigger plot. Maybe Betsy uncovered something dangerous involving finances, which turned her into a target. The call might not have been about medical issues. It could have been a clue that she knew more than she was letting on. Who tampered with official data if that's what happened? The police? Someone at the hospital? A contact within Hackman's personal sphere? Mysteries only mounted when police entered the Hackman house on February 17th and saw total disarray. More perplexing still was the silence leading up to that date. Why did no one check on John sooner? Where were his children while all this was unfolding? One friend of the family remarked that there was nothing in the fridge, implying neither Hackman nor Betsy had been living normally for quite some time. So when did it all truly go awry? Could events have spiraled days before the 11th or only after the 12th phone call? A single suspicious call toppled everyone's assumptions about Betsy's final hours. If she was gone, who spoke in her name? If she was alive, why vanish so swiftly? And did Jean Hackman grasp what was happening? Or was he just as lost, caught in a nightmare he couldn't control? He was 95, a Hollywood giant with 2 Oscars, yet Jean Hackman was discovered alone in a sprawling Santa Fe mansion, a home that should have promised tranquility. Even more chilling was the possibility that he spent an entire week sharing that space with his wife's remains. How could such a thing occur? And was his official cause of death, heart disease, truly the whole story? The $3.5 million estate, set behind gates in an exclusive community, was supposed to be their sanctuary from Hollywood. Instead, police encountered chaos on February 17th. No housekeeper, no caretaker, dust and clutter in every corner, strange stains on the floor, and a fridge that was completely empty. How did a 95-year-old survive in those conditions, particularly without Betsy? Was Hackman fully conscious of what was happening, or had his mind started to slip away? His final days appear to have been anything but peaceful. If Betsy truly passed on February 11th, that meant he endured roughly a week on his own. Only on the 17th did authorities arrive. Did he understand what had happened to his wife, or was he lost in confusion? And who, if anyone, checked on him during that time? No one stepped up to say they saw Hackman in those days. Observers were appalled by the condition of the house. Priceless art covered in dust, costly furniture stained and neglected, the fridge bare. Nothing about it seemed to fit a celebrated star's final chapter. An investigator called the scene shocking, not just for the untidiness, but for how Jean Hackman's last moments played out. The official cause of death was cardiac trouble, yet many wondered whether isolation, malnourishment, or an unrecognized infection contributed to his end. One thing was certain: his final hours were far from the gentle retirement fans might have imagined. Betsy Arakawa, meanwhile, was reported to have fallen to a rare infection that seemed disturbingly out of place for her lifestyle, and it struck shortly before Jean departed as well. Was this truly natural or the result of something more sinister? Accounts of Betsy's final days paint a grimly puzzling picture. She supposedly succumbed to an unusual illness, rather than a common condition like a stroke or heart attack. Nobody could pinpoint where this infection came from. She hadn't traveled or frequented risky environments. John showed no comparable symptoms. If it was transmissible, why didn't he contract it? Why did no one else in Santa Fe report a similar disease? Forensic experts took a close look, and suspicion of poisoning arose. Betsy had shown no significant signs of ill health in her last weeks. The coroner explained that this strain of infection was exceedingly rare, typically linked to specialized labs or remote areas. Betsy's life never intersected such places, so was her death really a disguised homicide? If Betsy was poisoned, who had the means to do it? She and Jean existed in near isolation, which meant few outsiders could get close. Then there was the perplexing phone call on February 12th. Did it tie into her final hours? Was someone else lurking in that house or orchestrating events from afar? Some whispered that Betsy might have stumbled on something secret about finances or about Jean, sparking a deadly chain of events. Did that put Jean in the crosshairs as well? Voice analysts pointed out that mimicking Betsy wouldn't be simple. If someone faked that call, they likely knew her intimately. Could Jean have discovered a horrible truth but been unable to act? He might have spent days alongside her body, burdened by knowledge no one else had. Or maybe he didn't recognize the gravity of what he'd experienced. 2 deaths in mere days, one attributed to an obscure illness, the other to heart failure, left many convinced there was a hidden villain. Was it paranoia or the tip of an even bigger conspiracy? Money complicates everything. When Jean Hackman and Betsy Arakawa died so closely together, the world asked who would inherit his considerable wealth. People assumed it all went to Betsy, but then came a startling twist. Hackman's will left everything to her, cutting out his children, with a clause dictating that if both spouses died within 90 days, everything would go to charity. Tragically, they died just days apart. Jean's son believed it was no coincidence, sparking a massive legal feud. Hackman's fortune, built over decades through real estate, film investments, and other ventures, likely stood at £40 million. Yet the will was the true bombshell. His children got nothing, and if Betsy did not outlive him by enough time, the money would pass to charity. That's exactly what happened. Did someone orchestrate it so neither spouse would truly keep the estate? Why did Hackman revise his will only a few years earlier, excluding kids he once planned to include? Did someone pressure him? Betsy seemed poised to benefit, but she died too soon to claim anything. Was she denied her inheritance or ensnared in a larger scheme? Hackman's official death was blamed on heart trouble, but he was never under medical oversight in the end. Could foul play have hastened his exit? Hackman's son expressed strong doubt that his father's death was natural. He even suggested that Betsy's weird infection was also engineered, perhaps to ensure the estate ended up elsewhere. Proving foul play might return the fortune to the children rather than a little-known charity. A legal storm erupted, triggering deep probes into both deaths. Investigators combed through medical records, bank statements, and phone logs, seeking the truth. Police suspected a hidden party might have orchestrated both fatalities. Surprising discoveries popped up. Massive withdrawals from Hackman's account in the weeks before his death. Who took that money and why? A strange phone call placed to Hackman on the eve of his death fueled theories he was threatened or manipulated. Experts scrutinizing the will found dubious edits. Tensions rose, pushing the courts to demand a full-scale inquiry. What began as a simple inheritance issue had transformed into an explosive drama of hidden deals, missing funds, and abrupt death. Jean Hackman's sudden, perplexing departure, Betsy's bizarre illness, and a 90-day clause that diverted millions from the family combined into a perfect tempest. Talk of conspiracy thrived, linking the whole saga to a secret mastermind. Or maybe it was all an unfortunate jumble of coincidences. We can piece together fragments, spin theories, and stir the rumor mill. But in the end, perhaps we still lack the key to unlock this riddle. Could the truth be simpler than we imagine? Jean Hackman was found alone in his mansion, living near his wife's remains for a week. Betsy's baffling phone call surfaced after her reported death, and an unusual infection took her life. The will left everything to charity if they died close together. Those facts alone spark endless suspicion. Yet like many sensational affairs, we're left with more questions than concrete answers. Was it all fate, a bizarre oversight, or a carefully calculated plot?